I still remember the exact sound my phone made when the message came through. Not a call, not a voice note, just a short vibration, quiet, almost polite. 30 seconds later, my entire life split into before and after. Because the truth didn't come gently, it slammed into me hard when I realized the hospital room I was standing in was never meant for her. The machines were real, the tears were real, the fear in my chest was real. But her illness? That was a lie. I watched the doctor's face change when I said her name. I watched confusion turn into concern. And in that moment, I knew something was terribly, irreversibly wrong. That was the night my best friend disappeared, and the night I discovered she had been lying to me for months. Welcome to my YouTube channel. This is my story of betrayal, and if you've ever trusted the wrong person, hit that subscribe button because you are not alone. Here is how it happened. I wasn't planning to tell this story. Honestly, I tried to bury it. But something strange happened. I was reading comments on my YouTube videos the other day, and I realized I wasn't the only one. So many of you wrote about friendships that vanished overnight, people who stopped answering calls, people who left without an explanation, people who took pieces of you with them and never looked back. And suddenly, I understood. This wasn't just my story anymore. Before she vanished. Her name was Lena, and for 7 years she was my person. We didn't just share secrets, we shared routines, morning voice notes, inside jokes no one else understood, the kind of friendship where silence never felt awkward. When something good happened, she was the first to know. When something bad happened, she already knew. People used to say, "You two are inseparable." We believed it. So when Lena started changing, I noticed immediately. It began subtly. Canceled plans, late replies, that tired tone in her voice that felt heavier than exhaustion. Then came the message that changed everything. "I need to tell you something, but please don't freak out." I remember sitting on my bed, heart racing, staring at those 3 dots, typing, deleting, typing again. And then she sent it. She was sick, seriously sick. She said the doctors had found something complicated. She didn't want to say the word yet. She said she wasn't ready. I told her she didn't have to explain anything. I told her I was there, no matter what. And I meant it. From that day on, my life quietly rearranged itself around her. I skipped plans to sit with her on video calls when she couldn't sleep. I memorized medication schedules she never asked me to remember. I defended her when people said she was being distant. "She's going through something," I told them. "Just give her time." She sent photos from hospital rooms, IV lines, medical wristbands. I didn't question a single thing. Why would I? This was my best friend. Then, without warning, she went silent. No replies, no updates, no "I'm okay." At first, I told myself she was resting. Then I told myself she was overwhelmed. By day 3, panic crept in. By day 5, it consumed me. I called the hospital she mentioned. They told me there was no patient under her name. I called again, different department, same answer. My hands were shaking when I grabbed my keys because something deep in my gut was screaming, "Go now." The hospital smelled like antiseptic and fear. I rehearsed what I'd say at the front desk. I imagined her face when she saw me, surprised, maybe even relieved. But when I said her name out loud, the nurse frowned. "Can you spell that?" I did. She typed, paused, then looked up slowly at me. "There's no record of her here." I laughed nervously. There must be a mistake. That's when the doctor stepped in and asked me the question that still echoes in my head. "Are you sure she's been treated here?" Because in that moment, standing under harsh fluorescent lights, I realized the photos she sent could have come from anywhere, and the truth I was about to uncover was far worse than silence. She didn't disappear because she was sick. She disappeared because she never planned to be found, and I was about to learn why. I walked out of the hospital into cold air that didn't feel real, like I had stepped into someone else's life by accident. My hands were still clenched into fists when I sat in my car. I didn't start the engine. I just stared straight ahead, replaying the doctor's words over and over again. No record, no patient. Are you sure? That question was the crack, the one that let everything else spill out. Because suddenly I wasn't just worried about Lena anymore. I was afraid of what I'd been too loyal to see. On the drive home, memories attacked me from every direction. Her voice shaking on late-night calls, the pauses before she answered simple questions, the way she always changed the subject when I asked about treatment details. I had called it trauma. I had called it stress. I had called it being human. What I never called it was manipulation. That realization hurt more than the lie itself. Because lies from strangers sting, but lies from someone you love make you question your own judgment. That night, I opened our chat history for the first time with different eyes. I scrolled slowly, methodically. Dates, times, photos. Something jumped out immediately. Every hospital photo she sent. No faces, no room numbers, no identifiable signs, just fragments. A wristband, but the name was always cropped out. A hallway, but never the same one twice. A bed, but no windows, no clock, no proof of time passing. I zoomed in on one image of an IV line, and that's when I noticed it. The background reflection. It wasn't a hospital room. It was a bathroom mirror. My stomach dropped. Denial is a powerful drug. I wanted to stop. I wanted to close the app and tell myself I was imagining things. But once the truth starts whispering, it doesn't shut up. I checked the timestamps. Some photos were minutes apart, yet the lighting was completely different. Morning, night, morning again. I whispered her name out loud like that might make it make sense. Lena, why? But the more I searched, the worse it got. The other version of her life. I did something I hadn't done in years. I checked her social media. Her public profile was quiet, just like she said it would be. But her tagged photos told a different story. There she was, laughing at a cafe, standing in sunlight, hair styled, makeup perfect. Posted 2 days ago, the same day she told me she was too weak to talk. My hands started shaking again. I clicked the profile of the girl who tagged her, then another, then another. Lena hadn't disappeared. She had simply left me out. I messaged her immediately. Are you okay? I went to the hospital today. 3 dots appeared, then vanished. Minutes passed. Then, why would you do that? Not, I'm sorry. Not, I can explain. Why would you do that? That's when anger finally broke through the fear. I typed back, I thought you were dying. I was terrified. This time she didn't reply right away. An hour passed. Then my phone rang. Her name filled the screen. I almost didn't answer. Her voice, different now. She didn't sound weak. She didn't sound tired. She sounded annoyed. You crossed a line, she said. I laughed, sharp but hollow. You crossed a line? She sighed like I was the problem. I told you I needed space. You didn't respect that. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I told you were sick. I sent you hospital photos. There was a pause. just long enough to feel intentional. I never said it was cancer, she replied carefully. My chest tightened. You let me believe it. Another sigh. I didn't ask you to assume. That was the moment something inside me cracked clean in half. The truth finally leaking out. I asked the question I'd been avoiding. Were you ever actually sick? Silence. Then she said very quietly, it's complicated. That word again, the same one she'd used months earlier, only this time it didn't feel protective. It felt calculated. Tell me the truth right now. She hesitated. Then, I needed time away. I needed people to stop expecting things from me. I felt dizzy. So you lied? I asked. She didn't answer. She didn't need to. What hurt more than the lie? It wasn't just that she faked being sick. It was that she watched me break down and never stopped it. She watched me rearrange my life, cancel plans, defend her name. She let me carry fear she didn't have the courage to face herself. And the worst part? She sounded relieved, like the truth was a burden she was glad to drop. She said, I didn't think you'd take this far. That sentence still haunts me because it told me everything. Before I could respond, she added something else, something small, almost casual. There's something you don't know yet. My heart stopped. What? I asked. Her voice lowered. Other people were involved. And just like that, I realized this wasn't just a lie between two friends. This was a web, and I was standing right in the middle of it, about to learn how deep the betrayal really went, because the next truth she was hiding wasn't hers alone, and I wasn't ready who else knew. The line went quiet after she said it. Other people were involved. I remember gripping the phone so hard my fingers hurt, like pain might keep me grounded, because suddenly, this wasn't just about Lena anymore. This was about everyone who watched me fall apart and said nothing. Who? I asked. My voice didn't sound like mine. It sounded smaller, careful, like I was walking through broken glass. She didn't answer right away. And that silence was louder than any confession. Who, Lena? I repeated. She exhaled slowly, like she was deciding how much damage she was willing to do. Some friends, she said. People you know. My stomach twisted. No, I said immediately. You're lying. She gave a short laugh, not amused, not cruel, just detached. I wish I was. That was the moment my mind started racing through names, faces, conversations that suddenly felt wrong in hindsight. People who had checked in on her through me, people who said things like, she's so strong, without ever asking how I was holding up. People who knew. After we hung up, I sat on my bedroom floor until sunrise. I replayed the last 6 months like a movie I didn't want to watch. That one friend who said, maybe don't stress her with too many questions. The way another changed the subject whenever I mentioned doctors or tests. The subtle looks, the pauses. I had called it respect. Now I saw it for what it was. Complicity. At 6:12 a.m., I opened a group chat I hadn't touched in weeks. Our old circle, the ones who used to joke that we'd grow old together. I typed one sentence. Did you know Lena wasn't actually sick? 3 people saw it. No one replied. Minutes passed. Then someone left the chat. My chest tightened. Another message popped up, private. Can we talk later? Later. That word felt like an insult. The first person to actually call me was Maya. Her voice was shaking. "I didn't know how to tell you," she said. That sentence again. Everyone had a version of it. "What did you know?" I asked. She hesitated. Then, that she exaggerated things. Exaggerated? Like this was about a bad grade or a messy breakup. "She said you were handling it," Maya continued. "She said you wanted to take care of her." I laughed, a broken, disbelieving sound. "So she used me," I said. She didn't deny it. "She said she felt safe with you," she whispered. That was supposed to sound like a compliment. It didn't. What hurt wasn't just that Weena lied. It was that she rewrote me to make the lie work. She turned my loyalty into neediness, my concern into control, my love into convenience. And people believed her because she told her story first. Later that day, Lena texted me again. "I didn't mean for it to go this far." I stared at the screen, numb. This far? You don't accidentally fake an illness for months. You don't accidentally accept sympathy you didn't earn. You don't accidentally watch your best friend unravel. I typed back one word. Why? The reply came faster than I expected. Because disappearing is easier than disappointing people. That sentence sat with me for a long time, because I realized something terrifying. She didn't disappear because she was afraid of losing me. She disappeared because she was afraid of being seen clearly. I asked her one final question that night. "Did you ever feel guilty?" She read it. No typing bubble. No response. Hours later, just before midnight, a message came through. "I didn't think you'd take it so personally." That was it. That was the sentence that ended the friendship, even if it didn't end the pain. Because it told me everything about how she saw me, not as a person, but as a role. The next few days blurred together. I stopped answering messages, stopped explaining. I felt embarrassed for caring so much, ashamed for not seeing it sooner. But underneath that shame was anger. Not loud anger, the quiet kind, the kind that sharpens instead of burns. On the fourth night after the truth came out, I noticed something strange. A mutual friend posted a story, a group photo, and there was Lena, standing close to someone I never expected to see beside her, someone who had comforted me, someone who had told me, "I'm sure she'll be okay." My heart dropped, because suddenly a new possibility emerged. What if this wasn't just about escaping expectations? What if Lena didn't disappear to be alone? What if Lena disappeared to build a life where I was never meant to exist? I zoomed in on the photo. Their body language told a story no one had admitted yet. And in that moment, I realized I still didn't know the worst part, because the truth about why she left was standing right there in plain sight, and I was about to confront it, whether I was ready or not. The line went quiet after she said it. Other people were involved. I remember gripping the phone so hard my fingers hurt, like pain might keep me grounded. Because suddenly, this wasn't just about Lena anymore. This was about everyone who watched me fall apart and said nothing. "Who?" I asked. My voice didn't sound like mine. It sounded smaller, careful, like I was walking through broken glass. She didn't answer right away. And that silence was louder than any confession. "Who, Lena?" I repeated. She exhaled slowly, like she was deciding how much damage she was willing to do. "Some friends," she said. "People you know." My stomach twisted. No, I said immediately. You're lying. She gave a short laugh, not amused, not cruel, just detached. I wish I was. That was the moment my mind started racing through names, faces, conversations that suddenly felt wrong in hindsight. People who had checked in on her through me. People who said things like, "She's so strong," without ever asking how I was holding up. People who knew. After we hung up, I sat on my bedroom floor until sunrise. I replayed the last 6 months like a movie I didn't want to watch. That one friend who said, maybe don't stress her with too many questions. The way another changed the subject whenever I mentioned doctors or tests. The subtle looks. The pauses. I had called it respect. Now I saw it for what it was. Complicity. At 6:12 a.m., I opened a group chat I hadn't touched in weeks. Our old circle, the ones who used to joke that we'd grow old together. I typed one sentence. Did you know Lena wasn't actually sick? 3 people saw it. No one replied. Minutes passed, then someone left the chat. My chest tightened. Another message popped up, private. Can we talk later? Later. That word felt like an insult. The first person to actually call me was Maya. Her voice was shaking. I didn't know how to tell you, she said. That sentence again. Everyone had a version of it. What did you know? I asked. She hesitated, then, that she exaggerated things. Exaggerated, like this was about a bad grade or a messy breakup. She said you were handling it, Maya continued. She said you wanted to take care of her. I laughed, a broken, disbelieving sound. So she used me, I said. She didn't deny it. She said you made her feel safe, she whispered. That was supposed to sound like a compliment. It didn't. What hurt wasn't just that Lena lied. It was that she rewrote me to make the lie work. She turned my loyalty into neediness, my concern into control, my love into convenience. And people believed her because she told her story first. Later that day, Lena texted me again. I didn't mean for it to go this far. I stared at the screen, numb. This far? You don't accidentally fake an illness for months. You don't accidentally accept sympathy you didn't earn. You don't accidentally watch your best friend unravel. I typed back one word. Why? The reply came faster than I expected. Because disappearing is easier than disappointing people. That sentence sat with me for a long time because I realized something terrifying. She didn't disappear because she was afraid of me. She disappeared because she was afraid of being seen clearly. I asked her one final question that night. Did you ever feel guilty? She read it. No typing bubble. No response. Hours later, just before midnight, a message came through. I didn't think you'd take it so personally. That was it. That was the sentence that ended the friendship, even if it didn't end the pain. Because it told me everything about how she saw me, not as a person, but as a role. The next few days blurred together. I stopped answering messages, stopped explaining. I felt embarrassed for caring so much, ashamed for not seeing it sooner. But underneath all that shame was anger. Not loud anger, the quiet kind, the kind that sharpens instead of burns. On the 4th night after the truth came out, I noticed something strange. A mutual friend posted a story. A group photo. And there was Lena. standing close to someone I never expected to see beside her, someone who had comforted me, someone who had told me, "I'm sure she'll be okay." My heart dropped because suddenly a new possibility emerged. What if this wasn't just about escaping expectations? What if Lena didn't disappear to be alone? What if she disappeared to build a life where I was never meant to exist? I zoomed in on the photo. Their body language told a story no one had admitted yet. And in that moment, I realized I still didn't know the worst part, because the truth about why she left was standing right there in plain sight. And I was about to confront it, whether I was ready or not.
I didn't reply to Lena right away. For the first time since this started, I let her wait. Not out of revenge, but because I needed to be steady. Because I knew if I walked into that conversation emotional, she would twist it. She always had. So I took a breath, then another, and finally I typed, "Say what you need to say." She didn't text back. Instead, she sent a voice note, 6 minutes long. Her voice sounded calm, too calm, like someone who'd rehearsed this moment in the mirror. She started with apologies that weren't really apologies. "I never wanted to hurt you. I was going through so much, you don't know what it was like in my head." Then she said something that made my skin crawl. "I didn't think you'd dig this deep." There it was again. Not regret for lying, regret for getting caught. She told the story like this. She had felt stuck, overwhelmed, invisible. She said I reminded her of a version of herself she hated, responsible, predictable, rooted. She said the illness lie started small. I just needed people to stop asking questions, she claimed. 1 week turned into another. I almost laughed. Weeks don't accidentally turn into months, and lies don't accidentally get photographed, edited, and sent. Then she said the sentence, "I'll never forgive." "You knew I'd take care of things. You're good at that." My chest tightened. She didn't just lie to me. She assigned me a role without my consent. Caretaker, protector, shield. She used my love as cover. I sent my own voice note back. My voice was steady. That surprised even me. "You watched me lose sleep. You watched me cry. You let me believe you might die." I paused. "That's not confusion, Lena. That's a choice." Silence followed, long enough to feel heavy. When she responded, her tone changed, defensive now, sharp. "You're acting like I did this to you. I was just trying to survive." That's when I asked the question that had been burning for days. "Did you ever plan to tell me?" She didn't answer immediately. When she did, her words were quiet. "No." That was it. The final meal. Because it meant there was no end date, no moment where she planned to come clean, no version of the future where she trusted me with the truth. I wasn't part of her escape plan. I was something she intended to leave behind, confused, worried, and blaming myself. I told her I'd spoken to others, to Evan, to Maya. Her breathing changed. "You shouldn't have done that," she said quickly. Interesting. Not, "I'm sorry," not, "they shouldn't have lied." "You ruined the timing." The timing of what? That's when she admitted it. She and Evan hadn't just grown close. They'd planned to move, together. A fresh start, new city, new story, without me in it. The illness wasn't just a lie. It was an exit strategy, a way to fade out slowly so no one could accuse her of being cruel, a way to make me look unreasonable if I questioned her disappearance. Who questions someone who's sick? I didn't yell. I didn't beg. I said one sentence. You don't get to call this survival. She scoffed. You wouldn't understand. I smiled sadly. You're right, I said. I don't understand how someone can lie so deeply and still believe they're the victim. That stopped her. For the first time, she didn't have a reply. When after a pause, she said, Can we just not talk about this anymore? I almost laughed. After everything, the fear, the manipulation, the humiliation, she wanted silence, not accountability, not repair, silence. I realized something then. This conversation wasn't about closure for me. It was comfort for her. If I stayed quiet, she could move on without consequences. If I stayed quiet, she could keep her clean ending. And I had a choice: protect the lie or protect myself. I looked at my phone, at her name, at the years behind it, and I knew whatever I did next would change everything, because there was still one truth she hadn't faced, one truth that would follow her no matter how far she ran, and I was the only one who could say it out loud. I just had to decide if I would. I didn't answer Lena right away. Not because I didn't know what to say, but because I finally understood what she was really asking. She wasn't asking for peace. She was asking for permission. Permission to erase what she did. Permission to move on without carrying the weight of it. Permission to pretend I was fine so she wouldn't have to feel anything at all. And for months, I would have given it to her. But something had changed. I realized I wasn't shaking anymore. The fear that once lived permanently in my chest, the fear of losing her, disappointing her, being left, it was gone. In its place was something quieter: self-respect. I typed slowly, "No, we're not doing that." The response came fast. "Doing what?" I smiled sadly. "Letting you disappear without consequences," I said into the empty room. I sent another message. "You don't get to decide when the truth ends." 3 dots appeared, stayed, then vanished. Minutes passed. Then her reply came, shorter this time. "What do you want from me?" That question told me everything. She still thought this was a negotiation. I replied, "I want you to understand what you did. You lied about being sick. You used my care to protect your image. You let other people watch me break." I paused before sending the next line. "And you would have let me carry that forever." Her answer surprised me. "I didn't think it would hurt you this much." That was it. That was the sentence that sealed everything, because it meant she had noticed my pain and still chosen herself. I didn't argue. I didn't defend. I simply said, "You don't get to measure pain you didn't feel." Silence. Long, heavy, final. The next message didn't come from Lena. It came from Evan. "I heard you and Lena talked. I just want to say I never meant to hurt you." I stared at the screen, stunned by the audacity. Never meant to hurt me? He knew from the beginning. He helped sustain the lie. He benefited from my silence. And now he wanted forgiveness without accountability? I replied once, "Intent doesn't erase impact." He tried to call. I declined. He sent another message. She was scared. We were both scared. I laughed quietly, because fear doesn't excuse cruelty, And love doesn't look like secrecy built on someone else's pain. I blocked his number, and for the first time since this began, I felt lighter. I didn't post anything publicly. I didn't expose screenshots or names, but I did something far more powerful. I told the truth in my own life. When people asked where Lena was, I didn't cover for her. I didn't say, she's dealing with health issues. I said calmly, she lied to me, and I'm stepping away. No drama, no details, just truth. Some people looked uncomfortable. Others looked relieved. One friend pulled me aside and whispered, I always felt something was off. I just didn't know how to say it. That sentence healed a part of me I didn't know was still bleeding, because it reminded me I wasn't foolish. I was trusting, and those are not the same thing. A week later, she messaged me again. This time, the tone was different, less defensive, less controlled. People are asking questions. There it was, the consequence she never planned for. When you disappear using a lie, eventually the lie has to live without you. She tried one more time. Can we agree this just got out of hand? I shook my head, even though she couldn't see me. No, I typed. This didn't get out of hand. You steered it here. She didn't reply, and this time, I didn't wait. Some people don't leave because they hate you. They leave because staying would require them to grow, and instead of growing, they choose escape at your expense. That night, I sat alone and thought about everything. The love, the lies, the months I lost to fear that wasn't even mine. And I realized something unsettling. Lena hadn't told everyone the same story. She'd told different versions, depending on who she was talking to, which meant the truth still hadn't fully surfaced. And sooner or later, those stories were going to collide. And when they did, someone was going to be forced to face reality. And for the first time, it wasn't going to be me. Because the final confrontation wasn't over yet. It was only waiting for the moment when all the lies ran out of places to hide. And when that moment came, everything would explode.
The explosion didn't happen loudly. It happened quietly, in a group chat Lena didn't know I was still in. Someone asked a simple question. Wait, I thought Lena moved because of her health. Another replied, no, she said it was for a job. A third added, she told me she needed a fresh start after a breakup. I stared at the screen, heart pounding. 3 stories, none of them matched. And suddenly the truth wasn't something I was carrying anymore. It was loose. The messages started stacking up, fast, messy, confused. People tagging Lena, people tagging Evan, question marks everywhere. I didn't say a word. I didn't need to, because lies can survive scrutiny one-on-one, but they collapse in crowds. My phone buzzed. Lena, what's happening? I didn't answer. Another message. Did you say something? Then a call. I declined it. For months I had chased her for clarity. Now she was chasing silence. Evan messaged next. Things are getting out of control. Out of control, as if the truth was a wildfire instead of a mirror. I replied once, this is what honesty feels like when it's overdue. He didn't respond. That evening my phone rang, unknown number, then another call, this time from a mutual friend. "We're all on," she said. "You need to hear this." Against my better judgment, I joined. Voices overlapped, confusion, tension thick enough to choke on. And then Lena spoke. She sounded frantic now. "I never said I was dying," she insisted. "You all misunderstood me." Someone interrupted. "You sent hospital photos." She rushed to explain. "I was going through tests. It wasn't fake." Another voice cut in. "The hospital confirmed you weren't there." Silence fell. My chest tightened, because this was the moment, the exact moment where the lie would either be owned or doubled down on. A quiet voice spoke up, one I didn't expect. "Why didn't you just tell the truth?" It wasn't angry. It wasn't accusing. It was disappointed. That tone broke something. Lena's voice cracked. "I was scared," she whispered. Scared. That word again. Scared of confrontation, scared of being seen, scared of admitting she'd outgrown people without knowing how to leave kindly. So she chose deception. She chose sympathy. She chose a slow disappearance, hoping no one would compare notes. But now they were, and there was nowhere left to hide. Her voice hardened. "I didn't force anyone to help me," she snapped. "People made their own choices." My hands trembled. I unmuted myself for the first time. I replied, "You're right. I chose to care because I believed you." The line went still. I continued, "But you chose to lie. You chose to let that care cost me months of fear." I took a breath. "And you never planned to stop." No one interrupted. No one defended her. For the first time, I wasn't the emotional one. I was the clearest. And that terrified her. Evan's last stand. Evan tried to step in. "This is turning into a pile-on," he said. "We should all calm down." I laughed softly. "You helped build this," I replied. "You don't get to moderate it." That landed hard. Someone asked him directly, "Did you know?" He hesitated. That hesitation was enough. No one spoke for a full 30 seconds. Then someone said quietly, "I think we need space from this." One by one, people left the call. Not dramatically, not angrily, just done. When the call ended, only Lena and I remained. She was crying now, real tears, or at least convincing ones. "I never meant to lose everyone," she said. I closed my eyes. This was never about losing people. It was about losing honesty and pretending that was the same thing. She sniffed. "What do you want from me now?" I answered without hesitation. "Nothing." That was the truth. Before I could hang up, she asked, "Do you hate me?" I thought about it. "No," I said, "but I don't protect you anymore." She didn't respond. I ended the call. The high tension didn't fade immediately. It echoed. Messages came in. Apologies, shock, quiet support. People admitting they'd felt manipulated too. People saying they were sorry they didn't question things sooner. And slowly the narrative shifted, not because I shouted, but because I stopped lying for someone else. Late that night, I sat alone, staring at the ceiling. I expected to feel victorious. I didn't. I felt empty, but lighter, because the truth had finally landed where it belonged, not on my shoulders. Lena lost control of the story. I gained myself back, and in that quiet, something powerful settled in. I didn't need revenge. I didn't need validation. I needed distance. There was still one piece missing. Not about her, about me. about what happens after betrayal, when the adrenaline fades and you're left alone with the wreckage. Because the hardest part wasn't exposing the lie, it was learning to trust again. And that lesson, that came next.
When everything finally went quiet, I expected relief. What I felt instead was grief. Not the loud kind, the kind that sobs and collapses, but the quiet kind that sits beside you when the world keeps moving and you're still catching your breath. Because betrayal doesn't end when the truth comes out, it echoes. The next morning, I woke up and reached for my phone out of habit. No new messages from Lena. No apologies, no explanations, just space. For the first time in months, no one needed me to believe a story. No one needed me to defend them. No one needed me to carry fear that wasn't mine. And that silence, as uncomfortable as it was honest. People don't talk enough about this part. The loss isn't just of a person. It's the loss of the version of them you loved. I grieved the friend who knew my routines, the one who laughed at my worst jokes, the one I would have shown up for without question. That person was gone, and no amount of answers could bring her back. At first, I was embarrassed that I believed her, embarrassed that I didn't see the signs, embarrassed that others knew before I did. But here's what I learned the hard way. Trust is not a flaw. Manipulation only works on people who care deeply. If anything, the shame didn't belong to me. For weeks, my mind replayed the same questions. How did I miss it? Why wasn't I enough for honesty? What does this say about me? Then one night, a thought interrupted the spiral. What if this says more about her than it ever did about me? That thought didn't erase the pain, but it loosened its grip. Betrayal sharpens your boundaries, not by hardening your heart, but by clarifying your worth. I learned that love without truth is just performance, that loyalty doesn't mean self-erasure, that silence can be more violent than conflict, and most importantly, you don't owe access to people who choose deception over dialogue. Something unexpected happened after the fallout. A few friends stayed closer. They didn't ask for details. They didn't pressure me to move on. They just showed up. And I realized something powerful. The people meant to be in your life don't require you to disappear for their comfort. If you're listening to this story and something feels familiar, if someone in your life vanished without explanation, if you were left holding confusion and self-doubt, please hear this. You are not crazy. You are not too much. You are not wrong for wanting the truth. People who lie don't disappear because you failed them. They disappear because honesty would require courage they don't have. I didn't forgive Lena to free her. I forgave her so I could stop replaying the story with myself as the one who needed fixing. Forgiveness didn't mean reconciliation. It didn't mean forgetting. It meant releasing the need for her to understand my pain in order for it to be valid. I don't chase closure anymore. I don't explain myself to people committed to misunderstanding me, and I don't protect anyone's image at the cost of my own peace. That boundary, quiet, firm, non-negotiable, changed how I show up everywhere. I didn't share this for sympathy. I shared it because silence keeps patterns alive. Because somewhere out there, someone is blaming themselves for a disappearance that was never their fault. And if this story reaches even one person who needed permission to stop carrying someone else's lie, then it was worth telling. Lena didn't just disappear from my life. She revealed it. She showed me who I was when tested and who I never want to become. And while betrayal closed one chapter violently, it opened another with clarity. I'm more careful with my trust, but I'm not closed. I ask better questions, I listen to my instincts, I honor discomfort instead of explaining it away, and I choose people who choose honesty, even when it's hard. especially when it's hard. Let it be this: someone else's ability to lie does not define your ability to love, and walking away from deception is not losing a friendship, it's choosing yourself. Thank you for listening. Thank you for holding space for a story that wasn't easy to tell. And if this resonated, if you've ever trusted the wrong person and survived it, you're stronger than you think, because the truth doesn't destroy you, it frees you.